Good morning, everyone. I will call to order the Board of County or Fire Commissioners meeting. It is June 3rd, 2025 at 10 a.m. We'll start with a salute to the flag. If Commissioner Clark could please lead us.
Please join me in the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, if you'll help us call the roll.
Yes. Alexis Hill, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, here.
Jeannie Herman, Vice Chair, is absent. Michael Clark.
Present.
Mary Luz Garcia. Here. Clara Andriola is absent. Interim Fire Chief Dale Way.
Present.
Deputy District Attorney Michael Large.
Present.
And I'm Kathy Smith, Chief Deputy Clerk. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll now move into public comment. Chief.
Item number 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. The district will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
Thomas Daly.
No?
There it is.
It is? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, Thomas Daly, and I'd like my remarks to be entered into the record for this meeting. You will be asked next week, as County Commissioners, to adopt new building, fire, and wildland codes for the county via a new ordinance. For the wildland code, however, only one chapter dealing with new construction is being proposed for adoption. Chapter 6, the defensible space requirements, are not being proposed for adoption. The Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District may also adopt the Wildland Code, and I encourage new Chief Edwards to bring that before you for discussion and action soon, as we are rapidly entering wildfire season. Adopting Chapter 6 requirements for defensible space for all properties is a prudent move, especially in those parts of the district which are in high or very high wildfire hazard zones. We know defensible space works, as the Rock Farm, Joy Lake, Davis, and Callahan wildfires have proved. If you have it and a wildfire approaches, your home will likely survive. Without defensible space, homes burn to the ground. Adopting the Wildland Code in full by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District should be on your next agenda. And one item off, under the capital projects report today, we are not hearing any news about funding possibilities for the Washoe Valley Consolidated Station. It would be helpful to have an update at your July meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly.
No one else is signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move into item 4. Chief.
Item number 4 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements related to items not on the agenda. No discussion among Commissioners will take place on this
Do you
item.
have anything for us, Chief?
No, we have Fire Chief's report.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Clark.
Yes, I've got a few requests for information, and hopefully Mr. Daly will stay in the room for a moment or two. I'd like an update on the Washoe Valley Fire Station. I'd like to know the exact time, date, county commission meeting, fire commission meeting where that was initially agreed upon to be built in Washoe Valley. I understand 5-6 years ago. I'd like to get the date that took place. I'd like to get a timeline on how that was supposed to be built, when it was supposed to be built, what the we know what the outcomes are. The outcomes are nothing. but it hasn't been built. And I understand that the District 2, at the time, District 2 Commissioner was involved. I'd like to find out any involvement that he had in that as far as hiring an architect, hiring a contractor. I understand from many folks, there's a lot of rumors going around that project was delayed because of involvement by that particular commissioner. I'd like to find out if that's true or not. I'd like to find out about bids that we had initially, what that fire station would have cost to be built 5, 6, 7 years ago whenever it was approved and didn't get built and delayed, and what the cost in real dollars are today. I'd like to see that comparison. I'd like to know what the holdup was. I'd like some explanations. We've been talking about this for years now. It's not been built, and I'd like somebody to explain to the public, not to me, to the public, the folks that live in Washoe Valley, what is taking so long? Why are we out of money? Why don't we have funds? Why didn't it get built? Let's have an expose on this, a real study that we can share with the public and explain to the taxpayers, the constituents that live in that part of the county, why they always come in last. They're very upset. I get calls even this morning before I walked in here. So what do the delays cost? What's the price to build today? And then I'd like to find out more about the station that was closed because of bats. Oh, we can't go in there because there are bats. And I understand that the place has been reconditioned and it's being used by other federal firefighting or it's either BLM or forestry or somebody else is using the station that we couldn't use, that we had to close. So I'd like an explanation about that. You'd think it was Chernobyl or something that we had to close the place down and nobody could ever set foot on it, and yet it's being used today. So I'd like to, and again, it's not for me, this is for the public. The public needs to understand what kind of hijinks and shenanigans and tomfoolery is taking place around here. They've had it, they're paying their taxes, they're playing by the rules, and they're not getting the level of service. I was told by the former chief that it was going to be built. I was told by the interim chief it's going to be built. I was told by Mr. Conine from the state that he had a line on some funding, and now I hear that Joe Hart has done a report that it's not going to happen. So I just want to get to the bottom of this. What are the facts, and what are the rumors, and what is hearsay? So I'm asking for all of that, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move into our consent items. Do you have anything to pull, Chief?
No.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on consent?
There is none.
Okay, I am looking for a motion on consent, please.
Madam Chair, move to approve.
Thank you very much. Looking for a second. Commissioner Clark, do you want to second that?
No.
I will second it. All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And that motion passes unanimously. We'll now move into our presentations. Item 6, Chief.
Item number 6 is the presentation by the National Weather Service, report by Tyler Salas.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Just on?
Yes, and you can raise it up if you
okay.
want. There you go.
All right, awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for having me. I'm Tyler Salas with the National Weather Service in Reno, Nevada. Today we'll just be doing a quick recap of how winter rounded out. We'll kind of go over what the snowpack looks like a little bit and also what the drought status is, and then we'll dive into our fire weather or our fire seasonal outlook. Okay, so here's just a quick recap of how winter ended up this past year. On the far left, that is looking at mean temperature anomalies across California and Nevada. And you can see that there is widespread warmer than normal conditions over basically the kind of late fall through early spring time frame. As we move into the precipitation side, kind of a mixed bag across the region. We do see kind of wetter than normal conditions across Northern California into Northern Nevada. This was primarily due to more frequent AR systems moving into the Pacific Northwest, further kind of north as opposed into Southern and Central California. So that area saw above normal precipitation over the winter, while we saw some drier conditions across Southern California into Southern Nevada and further east into the desert Southwest. And the far right graphic just shows basically the snow water equivalent on April 1st. And what that is basically if you take the snow on April 1st and melt that into liquid form, well, how much do you get out of that snowpack? It's kind of a way for us to measure kind of how the snowpack ends up. And we use this April 1st kind of deadline, if you will, because that's typically when we see the peak snowpack. It doesn't always happen on this exact date, but it's typically around this time of the year when we see the peak snowpack. And we can see, really, we ended about where we should have, near normal conditions across much of our watersheds. And actually, that's pretty abnormal. We typically see a wetter winter followed by maybe a drier winter and then another wet winter. But we've really seen 2 back-to-back years of pretty near normal snowpack conditions, which is pretty abnormal for this region. All right, where does that stand now? And really, all these warmer temperatures that we've been seeing is typical with as we get deeper into spring and as we get into summer here. We're starting to see that snowpack melt. We're starting to see below normal conditions across many of our watersheds. The Northern Great Basin, though, those mountains are still holding on to some good snow water equivalent levels up there. And on the right side, kind of gives a more broad view of what our snow water equivalent looks like across much of the Sierra. We can see across the Sierra, we're well below normal for this time of the year, but that's, again, typical as we get those warmer temperatures and we start to see the snowpack begin to melt. All right, how's the drought doing? We can see the most severe drought conditions continue to be across Southern California into the desert Southwest states. We start to see some more localized drought conditions further north across the Pacific Northwest and into the kind of northern tier of the Intermountain West as well. The right graphic kind of shows what the seasonal outlook is in terms of the drought. The Climate Prediction Center is indicating that we'll see the drought persist across those southwestern states, but expand a little bit further north into Central California. We still see those drought conditions persisting across states like Montana and Idaho, and then also expanding across the Intermountain West and into the Northern Plains over the summer months. Okay. This is our freakout chart that we like to show. We issued this yesterday. Just kind of gives a little bit of a broad overview of some of the impacts we're expecting over the week. Overall, it's a pretty quiet week weather-wise around the region. Our main concern is going to be some afternoon showers and thunderstorms in Mono County and into Alpine County up in the Sierra, and also into Mineral County as they drift off the mountains. We're looking at daily chances of that really through the weekend. And then pretty typical June warmth, mid-70s, mid-80s across Sierra, Western Nevada. Until we get into the weekend, high pressure begins to build over the area, and we'll start to see temperatures warm back up into the 80s and 90s area-wide. Okay, so this is looking at more of June 1st. This is kind of an average of the weather pattern, if you will, over the month of June. This is not an instantaneous time. This just kind of shows kind of what will be the more prevalent weather systems over the month. And I've kind of highlighted 2 things, where the high pressure is and where the low pressure is. And the main point that I want to show with this is we keep that more persistent troughing pattern across the West Coast during the month of June. And what that tells me is that we'll probably kind of see this more alternate of weather, where we see kind of hot and dry conditions, light winds, and then we'll start to see a trough move through the area. We'll start to see winds increase. And then that's going to be our concern in June, is when we see those low pressure systems move in and we start to see an increase in winds. There'll probably be like a couple day period where we have that residual hot and dry conditions coupled with those increasing winds, and that'll elevate the fire threat during those times. The top right is just what the temperature anomaly is expected to be with this one particular model. The main thing here is widespread above normal temperatures across much of the West in June. No really clear signal for precipitation in the bottom right, but we do see below normal precipitation is forecast where those areas are seeing drought across Montana and into the southern and central plains. This is what the Climate Prediction Center is thinking for the month of June. We're likely to see a warmer than normal June across much of the West. we do see that kind of bullseye of higher probabilities over the Great Basin, which kind of instills confidence that we'll see warmer than normal conditions during the next 30 days or so. The right is the precipitation outlook. Really no clear signal regionally, but we are expecting to see below normal precipitation across the Pacific Northwest, again, where those areas are seeing that ongoing drought. I do want to note, though, where you see the above average precipitation in Arizona, that is not a reflection of the monsoon. That was actually due to a few storms that have already impacted or are already ongoing, bringing anomalously high precipitation to Arizona. So this is not related to the monsoon. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but I wanted to highlight that. That's not a reflection of the monsoon for June. Okay, same thing, but this is over now a 3-month period. Really not a whole lot to speak of here. This is a pretty typical summertime pattern where we start to see that high pressure broaden and become stronger as it moves a little bit further north into the Four Corners area. And we do see that area of low pressure moving off further into the Pacific Northwest. Again, this is a pretty typical summertime pattern. Not too many surprises with that. Again, we continue to see above normal temperatures in the top right across much of the West. Again, kind of highlighting an area from the Pacific Northwest into the kind of northern tier of the lower 48, and then moving down into the central and northern plains. Once again, no real clear signal locally, kind of near normal is what this is projecting. Again, this is over that 3-month period of July, August, September. But you'll also notice that this one particular model is kind of highlighting below normal precipitation kind of elsewhere, really. Mm-hmm. This is the official summer outlook, again, from the Climate Prediction Center. Again, they're anticipating a warmer than normal summer across much of the West, especially our areas. We have that kind of ribbon of higher probabilities across California and the Pacific Northwest, and then moving into kind of towards the Rockies area and down into Texas. As I mentioned, no kind of clear signal for precipitation across the area. They are forecasting a likely below normal precipitation where that drought kind of is already ongoing across the northern tier of the lower 48. And then you also notice that there is the above average once again across Arizona. That is a reflection of the monsoon. The monsoon is expected to occur on time and actually be a little bit more active than is per usual. These are the official wildfire outlooks from the various geographic area center, or the GACs. And I kind of picked out some of the key points from their reports on the right there. So the main concern for us here in Western Nevada and into the Sierra is they're expecting above normal significant fire potential in June across the area, and this is due to our grasses and brushes drying out very quickly. A good indication of that was the fire that occurred recently down in Washoe County. And the main concern with this is those wind events. As I mentioned earlier, we're likely to see these kind of few days of heat and dry conditions where we're seeing 90, maybe 100-degree heat, low daytime humidities, and then we'll see a trough come through, increase the winds as we start to kind of transition to a cooler and more moist pattern. But there is like a few day overlap where we'll likely see critical fire weather conditions as that transition occurs. So that's going to be the main concern regionally during the month of June until we move into a more summertime pattern where that high pressure becomes more in charge. They're also forecasting that we'll see above normal significant fire potential by July across much of the area. This is pretty typical as we start to see more prolonged and more frequent heat events. That heavier vegetation is going to dry out and be more receptive to ignition. As I mentioned earlier, the monsoon is expected to arrive on time or maybe a little bit later. This typically occurs around late June into July, kind of the first week of July is a good starting place for that, and is leaning towards being unusually active this year. Even if it is a little bit more active, last year it was kind of a down year, if you will, across the area. So if we see a more active monsoon, we'll probably have more frequent lightning events further north here. So could see more lightning events during the summer as that moisture begins to push northward into our area. And then September, they also continue that above normal potential. As we kind of go into September, this is also more of a shoulder season, transition season, where we'll see more frequent cold frontal passages. Again, the kind of similar kind of deal there with June, where we see those lingering hot and dry conditions from the summer, But once we get more cold fronts rolling through, now we start increasing the winds, and we get that coupling of hot, dry, and windy conditions before more cooler, more moist conditions kind of alleviate the fire threat. So that's kind of what they're expecting there and why they maintain the above normal significant fire potential across much of the West in the month of September. And that's all I've got. So I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you very much. I will go to Chief. Chief, do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Nothing
Commissioner-
further to add, but thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Salas, for your time and your report.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a quick question for you. So I believe there's the Northern Nevada Heat Summit taking place on June 5th from 8 to noon at UNR. Are you involved in that, or do you all participate in those discussions?
Yeah, I believe actually our WCM, Don Johnson, and I believe another one of our managers will be attending that. So I think they'll be involved with that event.
Great.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
They'll be there.
And Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard a news report, national news report this morning that there was going to be some major cuts for funding for the National Weather Service from the federal government. Have you heard anything about that? Have you got any thoughts about that? Any discussion in your department about that?
Yeah, no, we typically will refer those type of questions to public affairs. We typically just kind of deal with the weather for us internally as far as the meteorologists go there.
Very well, thank you.
And I guess I'm glad that we're in a good place with the snowpack, and I'm on the TUMA board, and so we get a monthly report on where that's at. But with our rains that we're experiencing, it just is rainier in this area, and I'm just curious if you wanted to opine on that, and if you've seen, what that change will look like for this area.
Yeah, typically this area is heavily influenced by what's called a rain shadow, and that's primarily driven by the mountains, the Sierra Nevada. So typically when we get those storms, we typically see more wind events here. Anecdotally, we did see some more rain and snow during that prolific winter of 22 and 23. And anecdotally this winter, we saw more wind events in Reno. So again, I guess it's kind of Reno weather, right? It's kind of what are you going to get this season?
And on the high temps that we've seen in late May, I'm just curious if that had to do with some of the snowpack that you talked about that we're seeing dissipate as well.
Yeah, that definitely impacted the higher elevation snowpack, thinking above 10,000 feet, really because that's all that's left. We saw more of a normal year in terms of the snow melt. By the time we got into about May or so, most of the lower elevation was gone, and really all that's left was that higher elevation snowpack. So yeah, that recent heat event certainly took a dent out of that higher elevation snowpack.
Yeah, so we'll see some drier conditions.
Yeah.
Very fire-friendly, sadly,
Yeah,
conditions.
enjoy the snow up there for now because I'm sure it'll be gone here soon.
Right. Well, this is very helpful and gives us some perspective on what to prepare for, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys again for having me.
Yes, have a great rest of your day. Okay, we'll now move into item 7. Chief.
Item number 7 is the International Association of Firefighters Local 2487 report for discussion only.
Welcome.
Sorry, moving a little slow again today. Jim Clauser, President, Local 2487. First up, our spring defensible space project that we partnered with Senior Rescue Magazine. I just completed the list yesterday, the initial list. It was a great opportunity to go help some people that desperately needed some help. And out of this came a really unexpected great opportunity to partner with our high schools, because it turns out some of the high school kids need to do community service hours. And what a great resource for labor. So thanks to Captain Jeff Knox for volunteering his son and one of his friends to help me for some of the time.
That's great.
And his son actually stepped up and said, hey, I can actually manage this program for you moving forward as part of one of his projects. And man, what a great opportunity to combine the community service element of our youth with our elderly and get a whole lot of work done and help build skills in these kids. And they were eager to do it. And man, they move fast. You forget how much energy you have when you're 16 or 17. Our Rodeo 50/50 is coming up here at the end of the month here. We're going to be finishing at the end of the month, so any support anyone can raise for that goes to a good cause. Our foundation is partnering with the Eddy and the Animal Humane Society for an event on Thursday, the 26th. So if anyone hearing this wants to show up, that'd be great. That goes to a good cause. Chief Edwards said he's excited to be part of our TM family and excited to be here. He couldn't make it today, but expressed his well wishes and just enthusiasm for being here, so it's great. We're looking very much forward to meeting with all of you and with him, just kind of see where the future lies for all of us. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any questions? I'm not seeing any. Yes, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you for your good work. I mean, the idea came up with how can we help some seniors that don't have funds to fireproof their house, cut back on vegetation. Your union decided they would volunteer and help. And once that seed was planted and the way it's grown with you saying youth involvement and people have to do community service or volunteering, so the thing can really grow. And and at the end of the day, what it's all about fire prevention and helping folks. So thank you to you and your union brothers and sisters for
we appreciate
helping.
that. Yeah, this has the potential to become a really big thing. So excited about the possibilities for this. So yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go into item 8. Chief.
Item 8 is the fire chief's report for possible action. Item 8A, go into that really quick here, informational briefing on operational matters and activities for May and June of 2025. First up is capital projects. We currently have 2 major construction projects going on in the district and 1 minor one. The first would be the Apparatus Bay addition for Station 37. It's progressing on schedule to be completed November of this year. The walls and roof are up and interior work is going smoothly. There should be a period this month where the crew will have to be out of the station so that the fire sprinklers can be installed. And Plenium Construction is committed to working with us to reduce any potential disruptions to service delivery as much as possible, including the work being completed during the day and the station prepared for the crews to return in the evening. During those periods, we're looking into the crew being available for responses elsewhere and seeking cooperation from our partners at Reno and Sparks for first response coverage. We will provide a more detailed report and plan as we get a little closer to that point.
Great.
Next up is Station 35, also progressing on schedule. Expecting to lay concrete for the station and the Apparatus Bay floors. Completed some last-minute finishing specifications for the interior design and the new bay doors. All of the connections on the well should be completed this month, and the station is on schedule to be completed in May of 26. Last on capital projects is item number 13 on the agenda today, which is to approve the installation of the laundry room, washroom at our headquarters building. If approved, this will create a centralized facility for us to decontaminate all the firefighter PPE and streamline our process, creating the opportunity for faster turnaround and consistent delivery by trained logistics personnel. The work will hopefully be done in less than 30 days. Next up in the fire chief's report is Senate Bill 319. Just to update you all on that, the bill did pass late last night as part of other things on the Senate floor. So the board will probably need to consider selecting their 2 members to sit on that panel for that study.
Well, so the governor signed it late last night?
The governor has not signed it yet, but it did pass from both houses.
Okay, so we'll just see if we get a signature on that.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay. And the monthly report is there for everybody's perusal, unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
I do have a question on the monthly report. I'm so
Okay.
used to seeing the Sun Valley Station with the highest number of call volume, but we're seeing kind of a new non-TM area item on the bar chart, and I was just wondering, have we notated that in the past, or maybe I wasn't paying attention? Are we collecting or reporting our data differently from last year?
Chief Shum, would you be able to answer that question?
Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Division Chief Shum for Truckee Meadows Fire. There is going to be a difference in the data that is occurring as we see a shift with the auto aid agreement that we have with the city of Reno. A few of our stations, Station 44, Station 36, Station 33, have picked up in call volume because of their proximity to the city of Reno areas. So those pieces of data that are included in the monthly statistics. And then additionally, I cannot comment actually on the additional changes. Could you rephrase that real quick?
No, I think you just answered my question. So
Okay.
on page 5 of the annual report, I'm seeing a new non-TM area bar with 610 calls for the month of April. I don't remember, don't quote me on
That is new.
That is new,
to the
okay.
report. Right. And that is the encompassing Reno calls.
It's
So-
all of them together combined?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's District 44, District 45, District 46 that goes into Sparks is included in that number.
Okay.
As well as the southern stations 33, 36, 37 into the city of Reno.
Okay. I just think for us, if you can add a little bit of a little notation or something when, on a monthly basis, if we could see what mutual aid we're providing and to what specific stations, that would be helpful, just so we can keep note of that.
And are we answering those calls? Or are they just calls that then are canceled? Because I know when I went to 44, that was happening a lot too.
Yeah, so we average around, for the totality of the calls that we are dispatched to that are inside the city of Reno, where we're doing the auto aid with them, we average that we actually respond to about 45% of those. The other percentage is just cancels, where we didn't actually make it on scene or we didn't leave the station as you experienced on your ride along. So yeah, there's kind of a mixture there, and we anticipate those numbers to change when Hexagon does go live, when we start to streamline that process and we are on the same CAD, so it doesn't require both departments to get dispatched simultaneously and have the responders figure out who's closer.
Okay, so in the meantime, you're going to continue to collapse the calls if you leave the building, and whether it's canceled or not, it goes into this data. Okay.
Right, it is a call for service. Yep.
Great, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Commissioner Clark, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I did bring up the fire station down in Washoe Valley, and I understand that local TV station did an interview on that, and were you interviewed for that particular news segment?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall what your comments were about what exactly you talked about as far as the station down in Washoe Valley?
I believe that there's no current funding for that station.
So is that station, based on that, dead in the water at this point in time, to your understanding?
Until funding would be available, Commissioner, yes.
Okay, so I asked a lot of questions earlier, and I'd like to get those answered before the next meeting. And I think the public needs to be aware of this. The public has been led to believe for a number of years that they were going to get a fire station down there. Now, apparently, they're not going to get a fire station. And I think everybody in District 2 needs to understand that, and that what's taken place in the last several years. I was told by the former chief that it was going to happen, and almost had funding, and it's almost going to happen, and yet, we're led to water, but nobody gets to have a drink. And I think it's disingenuous to go down that path of letting the citizens think down there that they're going to get something that'll save lives in their part of the county, and at the end of the day, looks like nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to make sure that everybody in my district understands what took place, and we have to file public records requests or whatever it takes. But those questions were just the opening salvo of where I'm going with this. So thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much. Well, we do not have Vice Chair Herman here, but I do have a recommended block, and I will do that in the form of a motion. I'd like to block items 9 through 14, And may I have, and that is in the form of a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on those items?
There is none.
Okay. We just lost quorum. So, Commissioner Clark, can you please help us with this vote? Well, I'm going to recess the board since I don't know if Commissioner Clark is coming back and he walked out without telling us. We'll see if he comes back. Thank you very much.
Hello?
Hi, Commissioner. Can you hear us?
Chair Herman, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're indisposed, so we'll make this really quick. I had made a motion to block 9 through 14, but I'd like to amend that motion if my seconder is okay with blocking 9 through 15. Is Commissioner Garcia okay with that?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion to block 9 through 15. And Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on that?
There is none.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions on that motion?
Commissioner Hale, may I
Yes.
jump in? For the sake of, for the purposes of Commissioner Herman, who's on the phone, why don't we do a quick summary of these?
Yes.
Of the block vote, which is item 9, recommendation to approve the property and liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance proposal for the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District for 1 year, beginning July 1st, 2025, in the amount of $1.8 million. Item 10, recommendation to approve the issuance of a purchase order to the Interstate Oil Company in the amount not to exceed $250,000 for fiscal year 2025-2026. Item number 11, recommendation to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Flyer Energy LLC in an amount not to exceed $200,000 for fiscal year 2025 and 2026. Item 12, recommendation to approve retroactive and continued purchases for needed supplies and services from various suppliers that will not exceed in the aggregate of $100,000. Item 13, recommendation to authorize fire chief to issue a contract award in the amount of $124,955 to K7 Construction. Recommendation to approve and adopt the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Resolutions TM 07-2025 to amend the district's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the General and Emergency Fund in the amount of $200,000, and to amend the district's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the EMS fund in the amount of $50,755. And finally, recommendation to approve an employment agreement for Richard J. Edwards to serve as the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Chief with a one-year contract beginning July 1st, 2025, ending June 30th, 2026, including provisions for the annual salary of $296,849.28, benefits in the amount of $145,750, and other provisions common to executive employment contracts, including those of the previous fire chief, and to authorize reimbursement of moving expenses up to $5,000.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Herman, do you have any questions on those?
No, as long as we can afford it, I'm with it.
We sure can. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioner Herman. All right. With that, the motion should carry unanimously. Looking for the clerk. And that motion does pass unanimously. Thank you, Vice Chair Herman. We really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you. And I'm going to skip.
Oh, wait, don't let her hang up.
Oh, and Vice Chair Herman? Okay, we're just going to skip item 16 and go to final public comment before you hang up. And Chief, final public comment.
Item number 17 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
No one is signed in.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, for your time. It's 10:52, and we are adjourned. Thank you, Vice Chair Herman. Have a great day.
Thanks.